Bankrupt by Louise Imogen Guinea. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruskachuk. Past the cold gates, a wraith without a name, sullen and withered, like a thing half tame, still for its jungle moaning, came by night, before the judgment's awful angel came. Answer, Immortal, at my high decree. Glory or shame shall flood thee as the sea. What of the power, the skill, the graciousness, the star-strung soul the Lord hath lent to thee? But the lone spectre raised a mournful hand. Call me not that! Release me from this land! What words are heaven and hell? They fall on me as on a sphere, the fooled and slipping sand. Discerning thou the good mayst yet belie, by some last test the sinner sanctify. My guilt is neutral safe, like innocence. No boon nor bane of deathless days gain I, whose life is hollow shell and broken bowl of all which was its treasury, the whole utterly, vilely squandered. O most just, put down thy scales, for I have spent my soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bronwyn of the Flowers by Eleanor Farjeon. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Bronwyn gathered wildflowers up and down the lane. Her gathering touch upon them sweeter was than rain. Now a blossom overblown, now a bud begun. Her eye that lightened on them was quicker than the sun. One by one she named them, oh, she did express in her pretty namings all their prettiness. Some were fit for virgins, some for merry dames, and the love with which she named them was lovelier than their names. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Brook Farm by Louise Imogen Guinea. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruskachuk. Down the long road, bent and brown, youth that dearly loves a vision ventures to the gates Elysian as a palmer from the town. Coming not so late, so far, rocks and birches, for your story, nor to prate of vanished glory, where of old was quenched a star, where of old, in lapse of toil, time, that has for weeds a dower, bade the supersensual flower starve in our New England soil. But to youth whose radiant eyes shatter mists of grief and daunting, lost glad voices still are chanting 'neath those unremaining skies. Still the dreams of fellowship beat their wings of aspiration, and a smile of soft elation trembles from his haughty lip. If another dare deride hopes heroic, snapped and parted, disillusion so high-hearted, all success is mean beside. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
By Berwin Spanks, Ellen Rain. 1895. By Berwen's banks my love has strayed, For many a day in sun and shade, And while she carols loud and clear, The little birds fly down to hear. By Berwen's banks the storm rose high, The swollen river rushing by; Beneath its waves my love was drowned, And on its banks my love was found. I'll never forget that leafy shade, I'll never forget that winsome maid, But there no more she carols free, So Berwen's banks are sad to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Corina Confesses by Laura Redden Searing. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. To think that my eyes once could draw your eyes down for a moment from their lifting and straining up toward the opulent heights, to think that my face was the face that you liked best once to look on, when fairer and softened to pleading neath shimmering lights. Regret you? Not I. I am glad that your proud heart disowned me, the while it was lying so sullenly under my feet, since love was to you but a snare and a pain, and you knew not its height and its depth, all unsounded and soundless and sweet. Too dark was the shadow that fell from your face bending over me, too hot was the pant of your breath on the spring of my cheek. I but dimly divined, yet I shrank from the warring of passions so strong that they circled and shook me, while leaving you weak. Acknowledge, you knew not aright if you loved me or hated, but you pushed me aside, since I hindered your seeing the heights. They were but the cold barren peaks up which selfish souls clamber, and for which they surrender the gardens of scented delights. From where I am sitting I watch your lone steps going upward, and tonight I am back in those nights that we knew at the start. I think of your eyes dark with pain, full of thwarted caressings, and suddenly, after these years, from my hold slips my heart. But no matter. There's too much between us. We cannot go back now. I'm glad of it. Yes, I will say it right on to the end. I'm glad that my once sore, reluctant, tempestuous lover hasn't leisure nor heart now to be my most leisurely friend. My lover! Why, how you would fling me the word back in fury, remembering you loved me at arm's length in spite of denial. That the protests were double, each went from the struggle unconquered. The hour of soft silken compliance was not on our dial. You were angry for loving me, all in despite of your reasoning. I was angry because you were able to hold your love down, and jealous because in the scales of your logic you weighed me and slighted me for the dry bread of a sordid renown. So I laughed at your loving, I laughed in the teeth of your passion, and I made myself fair but to stand in you light from sheer malice, delighting to hold up the brim to the lips that were thirsting, while I scorned to let fall in their dryness one drop from the chalice. Alas for the lips that are strange to the sweetness of kisses, the kisses we dream of and cry for and think on in dying. Alas for unspoken endearments that stifle the breathing, since such in the depths of two hearts never wedded are lying. You say it is best, but I know that you catch your breath fiercely. I say it is best, but a sob struggles up from my bosom. For out of a million of flowers that our fingers are free of, the one that we care for most is the never-plucked blossom. Yet, oh, my unbroken, my strong one, too strong for my breaking, I am glad of the hours when we warred with each other and love, though you never drew nearer than once when your hair swept my fingers, and their touch flushed your cheek as you bent at my side for my glove. Never mind. I felt kisses that broke through the bitterest sayings. Never mind, since caresses were hid under looks that were proud. Shall we say there's no moon when she leaves her dear earth in the shadow and hides all her light in the breast of some opportune cloud? Yet this germ of a love, could it ever have burgeoned to fullness? For us, could there ever have been a sereneness of bliss, with the thorns overtopping our flowers, turning fondness to soreness? Oh, no! 'Twas 1,000 times better it ended like this. And yet, if I went to you now in the stress of your toiling, if we stood but one moment alone while I looked in your eyes, what a melting of ice there would be, what a quickening of currents, what thrills of despairing delight betwixt clasping and cries. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Curious Circumstance by Robert Reinecke. Translated by A. Baskerville. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. As once I was walking o'er mead and lea, a curious circumstance happened to me. A huntsman I saw in the forest's brake, he rode up and down beside a lake, and many a deer flew past the spot. But what did the huntsman? He shot them not. He blew his horn by the forest green. Now tell me, good people, what could that mean? And, as I walked on along the shore, a curious circumstance happened once more. In a little bark a fisher maid rode e'er by the side of the forest glade. In the twilight the fishes around her shot. But what did the maiden? She caught them not. She sang a song by the forest green. Now tell me, good people, what could that mean? Retracing my steps at evening's fall, the most curious circumstance happened of all. A riderless horse stood in the brake, an empty skiff reposed on the lake, and passing the grove of alders there, what heard I therein? A whispering pair. The moon shone brightly, the night was serene. Now tell me, good people, what could that mean? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Darkling Thrush by Thomas Hardy. Read for LibriVox.org by Patrick Wallace. I leant upon a coppice gate when frost was spectre grey, and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled bindstems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted nigh had sought their household fires. The land's sharp features seemed to be the century's corpse outlent, his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. The ancient pulse of germ and birth was shrunken hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overhead in a full-hearted evensong of joy illimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt, and small, in blast-beruffled plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good-night air some blessed hope, whereof he knew, and I was unaware. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Desire by Thomas Traherne. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Desire. 1. For giving me desire, an eager thirst, a burning, ardent fire, a virgin infant flame, a love with which into the world I came, an inward hidden heavenly love, which in my soul did work and move, and ever me inflame with restless longing, heavenly avarice, that never could be satisfied, that did incessantly a paradise unknown suggest, and something undescried, discern and bear me to it. Be thy name forever praised by me. 2. My parched and withered bones burnt up did seem, my soul was full of groans, my thoughts extensions were, like paces, reaches, steps they did appear, they somewhat hotly did pursue, knew that they had not all their due, nor ever quiet were, but made my flesh like hungry, thirsty ground, my heart a deep profound abyss, and every joy and pleasure but a wound, so long as I my blessedness did miss. O happiness, a famine burns, and all my life to anguish turns. 3. Where are the silent streams, the living waters and the glorious beams, the sweet reviving bowers, the shady groves, the sweet and curious flowers, the springs and trees, the heavenly days, the flowery meads and glorious rays, the gold and silver towers? Alas! all these are poor and empty things, trees, waters, days and shining beams, fruits, flowers, bowers, shady groves and springs, no joy will yield, no more than silent streams. Those are but dead material toys, and cannot make my heavenly joys. 4. O love, ye amities and friendships that appear above the skies, ye feasts and living pleasures, ye senses, honours, and imperial treasures, ye bridal joys, ye high delights that satisfy all appetites, ye sweet affections, and ye high respects, whatever joys there be in triumphs, whatsoever stand in amicable sweet society, whatever pleasures are at his right hand, ye must, before I am divine, in full propriety be mine. 5. This soaring, sacred thirst, ambassador of bliss, approached first, making a place in me that made me apt to prize and taste and see. For not the objects but the sense of things doth bliss to souls dispense, and make it, Lord, like thee. Sense, feeling, taste, complacency and sight, these are the true and real joys. The living, flowing, inward, melting, bright and heavenly pleasures, all the rest are toys. All which are founded in desire, as light in flame and heat in fire. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Falling Stars by Friedrich von Solat. Translated by Charles W. Hubner. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Oh, know ye not the meaning when swiftly earthward flies some silver star whose beaming, refulgent, lit the skies? Yon stars above us shining with light so wondrous fair, bright wreaths of glory twining, 10,000 angels are. As God to these hath given the sleeping world in charge, around the walls of heaven with watchful eyes they march, and when on earth below them some struggling soul they see, with all its wounds would show them, and in humility for heavenly help is pleading, and rest from earthly woe, thou'lt see an angel speeding on starry wings below. Upon the mourner's pillow celestial glory beams, he stills the raging billow, he soothes the heart with dreams. This is the holy meaning when swiftly earthward flies some silver star whose beaming, refulgent, lit the skies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Garden Chidings by Louise Imogen Guinea. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. The spring being at her blessed carpentry, this morning makes a stem, this noon a leaf, and jewels her sparse greenery with a bud. Fostress of happy growth is she. But thou, O too disdainful spirit, or too shy, passive dost thou inhabit, like a mole, the porch elect of darkness, for thy trade is underground, a barren industry, shivering true ardor on the nether air, shaping the thousandth tendril, and all year webbing the silver nothings to and fro. What wonder if the gardener think thee dead, when every punctual neighbor root now goes adventurously skyward for a flower? Up, laggard, climb thine inch, thyself fulfill. Thou only hast no sign, no pageantry, save these fine gropings. Soon from thy small plot the seasonable sunshine steals away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Garden by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. My heart is a garden tired with autumn, heaped with bending asters and dahlias heavy and dark. In the hazy sunshine the garden remembers April, the drench of rains, and a snowdrop quick and clear as a spark. Daffodils blowing in the cold wind of morning, and golden tulips, goblets holding the rain. The garden will be hushed with snow, forgotten soon, forgotten. After the stillness, will spring come again? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ghost of Dreams by William Herbert Caruth. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Ghost of Dreams. We are all of us dreamers of dreams. On visions our childhood is fed, and the heart of a child is unhaunted, it seems, by ghosts of dreams that are dead. From childhood to youth's but a span, and the years of our life are soon sped. But the youth is no longer a youth but a man, when the first of his dreams is dead. 'Tis a cup of wormwood and gall, when the doom of a great man is said, and the best of a man is under a pall, when the best of his dreams is dead. He may live on by compact and plan, when the fine bloom of living is shed, but God pity the little that's left of a man, when most of his dreams are dead. Let him show a brave face if he can, let him woo fame and fortune instead, yet there's not much to do but to bury a man, when the last of his dreams is dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Hound of Heaven by Francis Thompson. Read for LibriVox by Josh Middledorf. I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthine ways of my own mind, and in the midst of tears. I hid from him, and under running laughter up avisted hopes I sped, and shot precipitated adown titanic glooms of chasmed fears, from those strong feet that followed after, but with unhurrying chase and unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, they beat, and a voice beat, more instant than the feet. All things betray thee who betrayest me. I pleaded outlaw-wise by many a hearted casement, curtained red, trellised with intertwining charities. For though I knew his love who followed, Yet was I sore adread, lest, having him, I must have naught beside. But if one little casement parted wide, The gust of his approach would clash it to. Fear wist not to evade, as love wist to pursue. Across the margent of the world I fled, And troubled the gold gateways of the stars, Smiting for shelter on their clanged bars, Fretted to dulcet jars, And silvern chatter the pale ports o' the moon. I said to dawn, "Be sudden," to eve, "Be soon." With thy young skyey blossoms heap me over From this tremendous lover. Float thy vague veil about me, lest he see. I tempted all his servitors, but to find My own betrayal in their constancy, In faith to him, their fickleness to me, Their traitorous trueness and their loyal deceit. To all swift things for swiftness did I sue, Clung to the whistling mane of every wind. But whether they swept smoothly fleet The long savannas of the blue, Or whether, thunder driven, They clanged his chariot thwart a heaven, Plashy with flying lightnings round the spurn of their feet, Fear wist not to evade, as love wist to pursue. Still with unhurrying chase and unperturbed pace, Deliberate speed, majestic instancy, Came on the following feet, And a voice above their beat, "Naught shelters thee, wilt not shelter me." I sought no more that after which I strayed In face of man or maid, But still within the little children's eyes Seems something that replies, "They at least are for me, surely for me." I turned me to them very wistfully, But just as their young eyes grew sudden fair With dawning answers there, Their angel plucked them from me by the hair. "Come then, ye other children, Nature's, share with me," said I, "your delicate fellowship. Let me greet you lip to lip. Let me twine with your caresses, wantoning With our Lady Mother's vagrant tresses, banqueting With her in her wind–walled palace, Underneath her azured dais, Quaffing, as your taintless way is, from a chalice Lucent weeping out of the daysprings." So it was done. I in their delicate fellowship was one, Drew the bolt of Nature's secrecies. I knew all the swift importings On the wilful face of skies. I knew how the clouds arise, Spumed of the wild sea snortings. All that's born or dies, Rose and drooped with, made them shapers of mine own moods, Or wailful or divine. With them joyed and was bereaven. I was heavy with the even When she lit her glimmering tapers Round the day's dead sanctities. I laughed in the morning's eyes, I triumphed and I saddened with all weather. Heaven and I wept together, And its sweet tears were salt with mortal mine. Against the red throb of its sunset heart I laid my own to beat, And share commingling heat. But not by that was eased my human smart. In vain my tears were wet on heaven's grey cheek. For, we know not what each other says, These things and I. In sound I speak, their sound is but their stir. They speak by silences. Nature, poor stepdame, cannot slake my drouth. Let her, if she would, owe me. Drop you blue blossom veil of sky, And show me the breasts of her tenderness. Never did any milk of hers Once bless my thirsting mouth. Nigh and nigh draws the chase, With unperturbed pace, Deliberate speed, majestic instancy. And past those noised feet A voice comes yet more fleet. Lo, naught contents thee who content'st not me. Naked I wait thy love's uplifted stroke. My harness piece by piece thou hast hewn from me, And smitten me to my knee. I am defenceless utterly. I slept, methinks, and woke, And, slowly gazing, find me stripped in sleep. In the rash lusty head of my young powers I shook the pillaring hours, And pulled my life upon me, grimed with smears. I stand amid the dust of the mounded years, my mangled youth lies dead beneath the heap, my days have crackled and gone up in smoke, have puffed and burst as sun starts on a stream, yet faileth now even dream the dreamer and lute the lutanist. Even the linked fantasies, in whose blossomy twist I swung the earth, a trinket at my wrist, are yielding, chords of all too weak account for earth with heavy grief so overplussed. Ah, is thy love indeed a weed, albeit an amaranthine weed, suffering no flowers except its own to mount? Ah, must, Designer infinite, ah, must thou char the wood ere thou canst limn with it? My freshness spent its wavering shower in the dust, and now my heart is as a broken fount, wherein tear drippings stagnate, spilt down ever from the dank thoughts that shiver upon the sighful branches of my mind. Such is what is to be. The pulp so bitter, how shall taste the rind? I dimly guess what time in mists confounds, yet ever and anon a trumpet sounds from the hid battlements of eternity. Those shaken mists a space unsettled then round the half-glimpsed turrets slowly wash again, but not ere him who summoneth I first have seen unwound, with glooming robes purpureal, cypress crowned. His name I know, and what his trumpet saith, whether man's heart or life it be which yields thee harvest, must thy harvest fields be dunged with rotten death? Now of that long pursuit comes on at hand the bruit, that voice is round me like a bursting sea. And is thy earth so marred, shattered in shard on shard? Lo, all things fly thee, for thou fliest me. Strange, piteous, futile thing, wherefore should any set thee love apart? Seeing none but I makes much of naught, he said, and human love needs human meriting. How hast thou merited? Of all man's clotted clay the dingiest clot, alack, thou knowest not how little worthy of any love thou art. Whom wilt thou find to love ignoble thee, save me, save only me? All which I took from thee I did but take, not for thy harms, but just that thou mightst seek it in my arms. All which thy child's mistake fancies as lost, I have stored for thee at home. Rise, clasp my hand and come. Halts by me that footfall? Is my gloom, after all, shade of his hand outstretched caressingly? Ah, fondest, blindest, weakest I am he whom thou seekest. Thou dravest love from thee who dravest me. End of The Hound of Heaven. This recording is in the public domain.
This is My Letter to the World by Emily Dickinson, read for LibriVox.org by Daphne Ma. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me, the simple news that nature told with tender majesty. Her message is committed to hands I cannot see. For love of her, sweet countryman, judge tenderly of me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Only in Sleep by Sarah Teasdale. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Only in sleep I see their faces, children I played with when I was a child. Louise comes back with her brown hair braided, Annie with ringlets warm and wild. Only in sleep time is forgotten. What may have come to them, who can know? Yet we played last night as long ago, and the dollhouse stood at the turn of the stair. The years had not sharpened their smooth round faces. I met their eyes and found them mild. Do they too dream of me, I wonder? And for them am I too a child? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Beach at Night, Alone, by Walt Whitman. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. On the beach at night, alone, as the old mother sways her to and fro, singing her husky song, as I watch the bright stars shining, I think a thought of the clef of the universes, and of the future. A vast similitude interlocks all spheres, grown, ungrown, small, large, suns, moons, planets, comets, asteroids, all the substances of the same, and all that is spiritual upon the same. All distances of place, however wide, all distances of time, all inanimate forms, all souls, all living bodies, though they be ever so different, or in different worlds, all gaseous, watery, vegetable, mineral processes, the fishes, the brutes, all men and women, me also, all nations, colors, barbarisms, civilizations, languages, all identities that have existed, or may exist, on this globe, or any globe, all lives and deaths, all of the past, present, future. This vast similitude spans them, and always has spanned, and shall forever span them, and compactly hold them, and enclose them. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The quality of mercy is not strained. From The Merchant of Venice, Act 4, Scene 1, by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as a gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest and the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His sceptre shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself. And earthly power doth then show likest God's, when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that in the course of justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Regnum Caelorum vim patitur, Assault on the Kingdom of Heaven, by Evelyn Underhill, read for LibriVox by Josh Middledorf. When our five-angled spears that pierced the world and drew its life-blood faint before the wall which hems its secret splendor, when we fall, lance broken, banner furled, before that calm invincible defence whereon our folly hurled the piteous armies of intelligence, then oftentimes we know how conquering mercy to the battlefield comes through the darkness, freely to bestow the prize for which we fought, not knowing what we sought, and salve the wounds of those who would not yield. He loves the valiant foe. He comes not out to meet the craven soul made captive of its fear. Not these the victories that to him are sweet, but the impetuous soldiery of truth and knighthood of the intellectual quest, who ask not for his ruth, nor would desire his rest. These are to him most dear, and shall in their surrender yet prevail. Yea, at the end of unrewarded days, by swift and secret ways, as on a sudden moonbeam shining clear, soft through the night shall slide upon their gaze the thrice defended vision of the Grail, and when his peace hath triumphed, these shall be the flower of his celestial chivalry. And did you think, he saith, as to and fro he goes the trenches through, my heart impregnable, that you must bring the balusters of faith their burning bolts to fling, and all the cunning, intricate device of human wit one little breach to make, that so you might attain to enter it? Nay, on the other side, love's undefended postern is set wide. But thus it is I woo my dearest sons, that an ignoble ease shall never please, nor any smooth and open way entice. Armed would I have them come against the mighty bastions of their home, out of high failure win their way within, and from my conquering hand their birthright take. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 44 from Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. Beloved, thou hast brought me many flowers plucked in the garden all the summer through and winter, and it seemed as if they grew in this close room, nor missed the sun and showers. So, in the like name of that love of ours, take back these thoughts which here unfolded too, and which on warm and cold days I withdrew from my heart's ground. Indeed, those beds and bowers be overgrown with bitter weeds and rue, and wait thy weeding. Yet here's eglantine, here's ivy, take them, as I used to do, thy flowers, and keep them where they shall not pine. Instruct thine eyes to keep their colours true, and tell thy soul their roots are left in mine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 73. That time of year thou mayst in me behold, by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Patrick Wallace. That time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none or few, do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold, bare ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceiv'st, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well, which thou must leave ere long. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Withered Rose by John Kendrick Banks. Read for LibriVox.org by Helen Z. Ferrara, Teaneck N.J. for Jean. Thy lifespan was all too short, a week or two at best, from budding time through blossoming to withering and rest. Yet compensation hast thou, aye, for all thy little woes, for was it not thy happy lot to live and die a rose? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Under the Dark Lindens by Robert Heinecke. Translated by H. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. At last I've wandered back to home, in sight of yon sweet vale I come, the dark old lindens rise. 'Twas there she kissed me ere I went, from there her sweet farewells were sent, and now her glad surprise. But yet my heart forebodes some ill, all about seems strangely still. The linden's leaves I hear, upon the flowers the sweet dew falls, a little bird allures and calls, as if she might be there. Those sounds my darling loved to hear, the nightingale to her was dear, the lindens hide him yet. She loved the lindens rustling too, beneath them we would dream and woo, 'twas there we always met. I must, to reach the dear old place, amid the churchyard crosses pass, the lindens tower above. A fresh-made grave beneath them lies, and there the nightingale replies, and there I find my love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When Shall I Return? By George Vesey. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. When shall I return to the land of the mountains, the lakes, and the Rhone that is lost in the earth, our sweet little hamlets, our villages, fountains, the flower-clad rocks of the place of my birth? Oh, when shall I see my old garden of flowers, dear Emma, the sweetest of blooms in the glade, and the rich chestnut grove where we passed the long hours with tabor and pipe while we danced in the shade? When shall I revisit the land of the mountains, where all the fond objects of memory meet, the cows that would follow my voice to the fountains, the lambs that I called to the shady retreat? My father, my mother, my sister and brother, my all that was dear in this valley of tears, my palfrey grown old, but there's never such another, my dear dog still faithful, though stricken in years. The vesper bell tolling, the loud thunder rolling, the bees that hummed round the tall vine-mantled tree, the smooth water's margin whereon we were strolling, when evening painted its mirror for me. And shall I return to this scenery never, these objects of infantine glory and love? O tell me, my dear guardian angel, that ever floats nigh me, safe guide to the regions above. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When the Ladies Come to the Shearing Shed by Henry Lawson. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. When the Ladies Come to the Shearing Shed. The ladies are coming, the super says, to the shearers sweltering there, and the ladies means in the shearing shed. Don't cut 'em too bad, don't swear. The ghost of a pause in the shed's rough heart, and lower is bowed each head, and nothing is heard save a whispered word and the roar of the shearing shed. The tall, shy rouser has lost his wits, and his limbs are all astray. He leaves a fleece on the shearing board and a broom in the shearer's way. There's a curse in store for that jackaroo, as down by the wall he slants, and the ringer bends with his legs askew and wishes he'd patched them pants. They are girls from the city, our hearts rebel as we squint at their dainty feet, and they gush and say in a girly way that the dear little lambs are sweet. And Bill, the ringer, who'd scorn the use of a childish word like damn, would give a pound that his tongue were loose as he tackles a lively lamb. Swift thoughts of homes in the coastal towns, or rivers and waving grass, and a weight on our hearts that we cannot define, that comes as the ladies pass. But the rouser ventures a nervous dig in the ribs of the next to him, and Barcoo says to his penmate, "Twig the style of that last one, Jim." Jim Moonlight gives her a careless glance, then he catches his breath with pain. His strong hand shakes and the sunlights dance as he bends to his work again. But he's well disguised in a bristling beard, bronzed skin, and his shearer's dress, and whatever Jim Moonlight hoped or feared were hard for his mates to guess. Jim Moonlight, wiping his broad white brow, explains with a doleful smile, "A stitch in the side, and he's all right now." But he leans on the beam a while and gazes out in the blazing noon on the clearing brown and bare. She has come and gone like a breath of June in December's heat and glare. The bushmen are big rough boys at the best, with hearts of a larger growth, but they hide those hearts with a brutal jest and the pain with a reckless oath. Though the Bills and Jims of the bush bards sing of their life-loves lost or dead, the love of a girl is a sacred thing, not voiced in a shearing shed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Winter Nightfall by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. The day begins to droop. Its course is done, but nothing tells the place of the setting sun. The hazy darkness deepens, and up the lane you may hear but cannot see the homing wain. An engine pants and hums in the farm hard by. Its lowering smoke is lost in the lowering sky. The soaking branches drip, and all night through the dropping will not cease in the avenue. A tall man there in the house must keep his chair. He knows he will never again breathe the spring air. His heart is worn with work. He is giddy and sick if he rise to go as far as the nearest rick. He thinks of his morn of life, his hale, strong years, and braves as he may the night of darkness and tears. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Witch by Mary Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. The Witch. I have walked a great while over the snow, and I'm not tall or strong. My clothes are wet and my teeth are set, and the way was hard and long. I've wandered over the fruitful earth, but I never came here before. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. The cutting wind is a cruel foe. I dare not stand in the blast. My hands are stone and my voice a groan, and the worst of death is past. I am but a little maiden still. My little white feet are sore. Oh, lift me over the threshold, and let me in at the door. Her voice was the voice that women have, who plead for their heart's desire. She came, and the quivering flame sank and died in the fire. It never was lit again on my hearth since I hurried across the floor to lift her over the threshold and let her in at the door. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Working Party by Siegfried Sassoon. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. The Working Party. 3 hours ago he blundered up the trench, sliding and poising, groping with his boots. Sometimes he tripped and lurched against the walls with hands that pawed the sudden bags of chalk. He couldn't see the man who walked in front. Only he heard the drum and rattle of feet stepping along barred trench boards, often splashing wretchedly where the sludge was ankle deep. Voices would grunt, "Keep to your right, make way," when squeezing past some men from the front line. White faces peered, puffing a point of red. Candles and braziers glinted through the chinks and curtain flaps of dugouts. Then the gloom swallowed his sense of sight. He stooped and swore because a sagging wire had caught his neck. A flare went up. The shining whiteness spread and flickered upward, showing nimble rats and mounds of glimmering sandbags bleached with rain. Then the slow silver moment died in dark. The wind came posting by with chilly gust and buffeting at the corners, piping thin and dreary through the crannies. Rifle shots would split and crack and sing along the night, and shells came calmly through the drizzling air, to burst with hollow bang below the hill. 3 hours ago he stumbled up the trench. Now he will never walk that road again. He must be carried back, a jolting lump beyond all needs of tenderness and care. He was a young man with a meager wife and 2 small children in a Midland town. He showed their photographs to all his mates, and they considered him a decent chap who did his work and had much to say, and always laughed at other people's jokes, because he hadn't any of his own. That night, when he was busy at his job of piling bags along the parapet, he thought how slow time went, stamping his feet and blowing on his fingers, pinched with cold. He thought of getting back by 12:30, and tot of rum to send him worn to sleep, and draughty dugout frosty with the fumes of coke and full of snoring weary men. He pushed another bag along the top, craning his body outward. Then a flare gave one white glimpse of no man's land and wire, and as he dropped his head, the instant split his startled life with lead, and all went out. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.